People of God, it's that time again when we share with you what God is doing through the hands of our father and our mother. So many amazing things have been happening. And some of them, you find out that our vocabulary is very limited in explaining. Amazing things are happening through the hands of our father and mother. And some of these miracles, they are not what you'd say deliberate miracles. It's not like a planned thing, but something just happens because someone happens to bisect or to be in the way of the man of God or the woman of God, and things happen. There are times when our Father asks or calls for people to come up front, and then he ministers to them. That's like a deliberate thing. But there are times when things happen because our Father just wants them to happen, though there is no deliberations about it, and there is nothing deliberate about it. So this is one such miracle that we'll be sharing. But men of God, before we share about that, our Father is in his own world. He's just in his own world. I don't know about you. Did you watch the Thursday service? If you missed it, do yourself a favor. Go and listen to it. And if you watched it or listened to it, do yourself a favor. Listen to it again and again and again. Because,
last night I actually slept listening to the service over and over again. And every time I would listen to it, I would find something new to understand. People of God, even if you're going to listen to our Father, you understand that he is a master of his own. The way that he endeavors in enchanted territories, where he opens paths that have never been opened before. Did you listen to how he was unraveling mysteries on Thursday? The way he was redefining the Bible, Doc.
Men of God, there are certain places in the heavenlies where you'll find just one pair of footsteps, just his footsteps, where no one else has ever been to, just himself. There is just something medical which amazed me as he was explaining. When he was talking about Eve being taken from the side of Adam, and then he talked about the surgery which was done, and how God used flesh to cover that place, and how Adam needed some time to recover, and then came back later on. When I was just thinking that, in the medical world, if we do like chest surgery, which is what I do, you resect some ribs and you create a defect. You know what we do to cover that defect? We take tissue from another place. We call it a tissue flap.
Okay.
So you take a muscle, you rotate it, you use it to cover the place, and then you close. And then that surgery will take some time for it to recover. And I was just thinking, Baba is talking about tissue cover, about flaps, pedicle flaps, non-pedicle flaps. Any medical person would understand this thing. And I started to think, so these principles that we are using today, they are from way back. They are ancient principles that we are now using in the surgery today. It blew my mind, man of God. It literally blew my mind.
Everything about our Father always blows us into pieces. Even the explanation. Every time I used to think that when Adam woke up, he was just a rib was plugged off, and then the next thing you woke up, and everything was happening in a small space of time. But the way that Baba explains it, he explains it in such a way that we have never seen it. You said it correctly. You said there are places that you're only going to find
just one pair.
Just one pair. And I know that's our Father's. Have you ever thought at any point in time that there was a time of recovery, and everything that happened, it happened in the time of recovery for Adam?
It's something else.
People of
Anyway, men of God, we are here for the testimony. We are not digressing too much. But it's worth talking about. It's worth discussing, people of God. These teachings, they are mind-blowing.
You
They're
never
just
you never
something
see
else.
them anywhere else. I'm telling you, people of God, whenever our Father comes, we should withdraw as much information
Exactly.
as we can from Him. Ask questions as much as we can. Our Father is too loaded, but I think we are not as prepared as we are supposed to be. So every time, let's have that hunger. Let's always ask.
Exactly.
Let's always continue asking from His Spirit all the time. Like you said, we'll digress, man of God.
Thank you. People of God, today we've got an amazing testimony. Like I mentioned, there's a lady who was crying out for something from the Lord for many, many years. And somehow she happened to be in the path of the man and woman of God, and something happened. People of God, help us to welcome Patience Chipwanya. Let's just clap our hands as we welcome her to the podium. We welcome you, Mama.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you for allowing us to share and facilitate in the sharing of your testimony.
Yeah, sure.
And we understand God has done mighty things in your life.
Indeed. I'm so happy. The Lord has remembered me.
We know that there are so many things that have happened, but today we'll just focus on one thing.
Yeah,
There are
sure.
so many. You know, we've discussed with you and we have learned that God has done a lot of things for your life. From I don't know
The Lord has
when.
been working a lot of miracles in my life, and I really appreciate.
So let's talk about this thing which happened to you, which is what we want to talk about today. You're having children. Just brief us the journey that you have had until you met with the man and woman of God.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge and appreciate the anointing upon my father and mother. Had it not been the encounter with the prophet in my life, I couldn't be sitting here, so I would like to appreciate that.
Okay.
What happened is I'm that one kind of a person who was having struggles to conceive and also facing a lot of challenges, especially on miscarriages. Whenever I get pregnant, most of the times I would miscarry. So yeah, it was on the 19th of June, 2022.
Let's go back a little bit back
Okay.
before the encounter. What was happening
All right. I was having miscarriages.
after miscarriage? How many children did you have at that time?
Okay, I had one child.
You had one child.
Yes.
How old was the child at the time when you met the man of God?
At the time I met the man of God, the child was 4 years, up to 5 years.
For almost 5.
Almost 5 years, yes.
And you were trying to conceive.
Yes, I've been trying to conceive. I've been trying to conceive for quite a long time, but
It
to no
wouldn't
avail.
work
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And then the moment that you then conceived after some years, you lost the pregnancy.
Yeah, I lost the pregnancy.
And you didn't lose just one pregnancy.
Yeah, it's not just one.
How many did you lose?
I lost 2.
You lost 2 of them.
Yes.
So you're a young couple trying to build your family. You have your first child, and then after the first child, it was just not failing to come, the pregnancy.
Yeah,
It
sure.
was not like you were having miscarriages.
Yeah. I was struggling even to conceive. Getting pregnant was a mammoth task for me. I was even struggling to get pregnant. So finally, when I got pregnant, I miscarried again.
So you can imagine the joy that you have, that at least after the struggle for 3-4 years to conceive, you now test positive. And initially you have joy. And then after that joy, you miscarry. The joy is taken away.
Yeah, because I remember I took almost 4 years trying to conceive. And I remember the day when I tested and it came positive. I celebrated. I really celebrated because it was really a miracle for me as someone who had taken long to get pregnant. But unfortunately, 2 months down the line, I lost the pregnancy. Yeah.
Wow. So we've got your records, the media team, you can show us. This was May 2022.
Yeah,
Something happened to you.
Yes.
What happened during that time? You had tested positive for pregnancy again, and then something started happening to you. You can explain to us.
Okay, it was on the 17th of May 2022. I remember I was at work by that time. So I just started feeling some stomach pains. And then I went to check myself, and then I saw I was bleeding. So as someone who once experienced miscarriages, when I saw it, I started to worry because the bleeding was coming out with clots. I got in touch with my doctor, and she booked me for an appointment, and I went there. So when I went there, she just said, I don't know. If it was just normal bleeding, I think it was okay. But now you are bleeding, it's heavy bleeding, and you have clots. I think you lost this pregnancy.
So we've got 2 scans that were taken on you.
Yes.
The first scan, which is what we showed, media team, can you show us that scan once again? So this scan was now 2 days later on the 19th of May. So the conclusion below this says, on today's scan, there is a single intrauterine gestational sac, which is seen with a mean diameter of 13.1 millimeters, corresponds to 5 weeks and 1 day gestation. These findings suggest that this is an early pregnancy, which will require further scan to confirm viability. A follow-up scan is recommended in 2 weeks. Okay? And then we have another scan. You can show us the next one. So you had another scan like a week later.
Yeah, because at first when I went there, they didn't confirm at the scan center. They didn't confirm that it was really miscarriage because they were seeing some remains. They were seeing the baby. So they said that they are going to do a follow-up scan after some time. So I went there on the 25th of May again for the second scan.
So this is the 25th of May when this scan was done. You went to the same place?
Yes,
that
I went
had
back to
done
the same
first
place.
Scan.
Yes.
Okay. You can show us the next slide so that we can read what's written on that scan, their conclusions. Okay. So you see the conclusion now. Okay, before you go to the conclusion, they write about the uterus is antivated, bulky, single intrauterine gestational sac seen, and then they talk about no fetal pore seen. The mean sac diameter, they talk about the sac is where the child is supposed to be, 16 millimeters. So the sac has grown from the previous diameter. It has grown. But if you look at the comment below, they say, conclusion, given the current ultrasound findings and the discrepancy of dates, the differential diagnosis includes a blighted ovum, failed pregnancy. So this, what they are saying is the sac is there. She has tested positive, but the sac is empty. There is no child who is growing in the sac. I'm sure many years back, our father once prophesied about an empty sac. Okay? So this is a similar condition of an empty sac. There is nothing in there, in the sac.
So if there's an empty sac, it means she has miscarried.
There are 2 things. Either she had fertilization of the egg, but the egg failed to develop. So the sac is just there, but it's empty. If you test the pregnancy, it's positive. But there is nothing in the sac, nothing growing in the sac. So it was not a viable pregnancy. And then she started to show the signs of miscarrying, that viable pregnancy, hence the bleeding. So after that, what did your doctor do? What happened after that?
Okay, after the scan, my doctor said, unfortunately, we have lost this pregnancy. She was dealing with me for long. So she said, no, this is now miscarriage. I can confirm. So she prescribed some pills to clean the uterus because she had confirmed that there is no child, it's a miscarriage.
Okay. So you took this pill, and then what happened next?
All right. I took those pills, and then because she said they are going to clean, there is no need for you to go to the theater. If we took these pills, I think they will clean the system. So I took the pills, but I continued to bleed for quite a long time until the day I came here and met the prophet of God.
We understand that if you have such an experience, they also take you to theater to clean the womb, so they never did that procedure.
Yeah, on that they never did. They just gave me the pills. She just prescribed the pills. Then I took them, the cytotec pills. But unfortunately, I continued. Yeah.
Okay. I think we've got another record again from the hospital. This time you had gone to a government hospital. You were seen, and they came to the same conclusion as the other doctor, that truly you had miscarried. Okay, so this is now the hospital card where you were admitted. It's got your name, your hospital number, the dates that you were there, and the diagnosis there says incomplete miscarriage. If you see that triangle at the top, triangle means diagnosis. So incomplete miscarriage, and then they gave you this medication, and the hope was everything will just come out and you'll be fine. So on discharge on the 31st of May, this day here, you were still bleeding.
Yeah, I was still bleeding because I've been referred to this hospital by my doctor. So I was still bleeding. And they said, it's fine, I think let's book here for theater so that we can do evac on here to clean the uterus in the theater. So I was booked at that hospital, and I went to theater because the pills that I was prescribed first, they did not stop the bleeding. I continued to bleed for long.
Okay. So after evac, did you continue bleeding again?
Yeah, for quite a long time because evac was done on the 31st of May. But then I continued to bleed from there until the 19th of June when I had an encounter with the prophet here.
Okay. So coming to the day that you met the prophet, I understand you were just seated somewhere. Just describe to us what happened, how you met the man of God.
Yeah, I used to think that when you want to really meet the prophet, you really need to sit at these front chairs. But it's not all about sitting at the front. Wherever you are, you can actually get in touch with the prophet.
So where were you still seated on that day?
I was seated there somewhere at the back at the sales area there. That's where I was on that day. I came from the hospital. I had gone again for a follow-up scan to the hospital. And then they said, we are going to book you today again so that we will see what's really going on because I was still bleeding. Then I find another reason to come to church because I said, no, all the medical field, they have tried everything, but I'm bleeding non-stop. I think this is high time for me to go and meet the prophet of God. So I came here with the intention, I said, today is my day. I'm going to see the man of God. I was like that story of the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible. I was saying, no one is going to stop me today. It's my day. The prophet has to really see me.
So what happened?
Okay, the prophet was ministering, and then he said, overflow, I'm going to come there. That's what he said. So he was moving around in the auditorium, And then when he got near where I was seated, I was there seated by the sales desk. When he got near to that
Oh, so you were actually serving on the day.
I was serving, yes.
Okay.
So when he got near that place, I said, I really need to touch the prophet of God today. So I ran and kneeled. I ran and kneeled and touched the hem of his trousers. When I touched it, you know, Pastor and Doc, on that day, I was like that I was like that woman in the Bible with the issue of blood, because that's what really I was suffering from. So I said, today is my day. I don't know where the prophet has his missions. He really has to address my issue today. So I touched the hem of his trousers. When I touched it, I didn't want, it wasn't all about having the prophet praying for me or what, but I just started to celebrate and said, Zvangu zvaita, zvangu zvatoita.
And then what happened next while you were celebrating?
Yeah, I was just jumping and celebrating, and the prophet came to me and he said, Urukudei. He asked in Shona, he said, Urukudei. And then I said, Ndurukuda mwana, prophet. Then he took a lighter moment. He laughed and said, it's done. I want a testimony from this one. That's what he said. He said, it's done. I want a testimony from this one.
Wow. Media team, you can make us relive what happened on the day. So that was the encounter, that was the experience. Our Father is just walking to the overflow. Like Jesus is just walking, and the woman just says in her heart, if I get a chance to touch the hem of the garment. And you know, Jesus walked with people. Our Father always, when he's ministering, there are people who are helping to keep the order. But somehow you found your way, and you touched the hem. And the way we are seeing is now asking you, what is it that you want?
Yeah, it's true. I really found my way because I told myself that I'm going to meet the prophet today. I'm going to meet the prophet today. I'm not going home the same. I can't continue to bleed. I can't continue to struggle to have children. I need my child. I need to stop bleeding.
Everything that she's saying is showing me something that is deep. That no matter what situation that you are in, if you have the deepest hunger and say, this is what I want, you will have the ability to draw the attention of the prophet. Imagine the prophet was ministering from here, but he decided to go exactly where she was. It's not something that is simple, people of God. You know, the drive and the hunger, it actually determines what kind of miracle you're going to get. And for her, she knew exactly what she wanted and where she was supposed to get it. And what she only had to do was to have that kind of faith that draws the men of God. So no matter, you know, people of God, I think this is something that we need to understand, that no matter where you are and wherever you are, what you just need to do is to place it on your mind and say, as long as I see the prophet of God, my situation is going to be solved.
That's true.
And I would like to understand, also ask, so after the touch from the men of God, how did you feel? Because you were bleeding. How did you feel?
You know, when you are miscarrying or when you are bleeding, especially that bleeding of miscarriage, you can actually feel the blood coming. The clothes, you can actually feel them. So during the time, during the service, at first when I got here, I was actually feeling the bleeding. But when the prophet touched me, I just felt, I just felt that something had happened. I never felt the bleeding, and I said, no, I need to go to the toilet and check myself. So when I went there, I had faith. I went there and removed the cotton that I was putting on. And I came back and I said, no, if I'm going to bleed and spoil the whole road, I'm going to do that on my way home. I definitely know that it's done. So I removed and left it there and came back without the pen.
Wow. So when you went home, you checked yourself again.
Not even getting home, because when I had the encounter with the prophet, I had something about 2 hours still here because the service was not yet done. So I went to check after the prayer. I went to the toilet. I removed the pads and the cotton. I came back and sat at where I was serving. So from there, when I was about to go home, I think it was about 2 hours later, I went back to the toilet again to check myself, but I never saw any sign of blood.
Wow. So previously, was it like that you spent 2 hours without any bleeding, dry for 2 hours before that?
I couldn't even spend 20 minutes. I was changing it frequently.
Wow.
Doc, let me ask a question. Does bleeding just stop just like that? Is it something that just...
Man of God, the only other place which I've seen is in the Bible, where there was the woman with an issue of blood who touched Jesus, and the Bible says, and the bleeding stopped. That's the only place I've seen that. Nowhere where you find that the bleeding will just stop. You know, even if you were to do an evac, okay? We call it evac, where you remove the retained products of conception. Still, there will be some residual bleeding for a few days. And if you have it and you continue bleeding, probably they didn't remove everything. I don't know. It's just my speculation. Probably they didn't remove everything. But you know, bleeding which just ceases at once, it doesn't happen. Even if it's a woman who has given birth, a woman will still continue bleeding for a few more days. It will actually taper down bit by bit, day by day, until it's all finished. But not that you have something that just stops instantly. That's a miracle. That's the only way to explain it.
You know, it's just one moment with the man of God, our Father. And ma'am, you are saying at that point, everything stopped.
Everything stopped at that point because I felt that there was nothing that was coming. All the clothes, you would feel them when you are bleeding, you could actually feel them. But I never, from that moment, I didn't feel anything. That's when I went to the toilet and I removed and said, enough is enough.
Wow. You know, this is creating your own moment, creating your own opportunity and moment to get a miracle. Not waiting for the other moment, but just creating it yourself. This is exactly what happened. I'm sure a prayer must have been noticed by the man of God, and that day he decided to pass through that exact place where she was sitting.
The amount of intensity of the prophetic that is in our Father, that he knows each and every one of us according to our problems, that what we only need to do is to show desperation that this is what we need. And he presents himself just before you, and the rest you just have to do it yourself. Imagine, people of God, that kind of spiritual connection. People of God, sometimes we think our Father is far away, but he's just close to us.
And this lady literally took her miracle from him. That's what she did. So now let's fast forward. 2 or 3 months later, you then had signs of pregnancy.
Yeah, sure. 2 or 3 months later, I started to show signs of pregnancy. And then I went to the pharmacy and then I bought a pregnancy test. And then I realized that it was positive.
Wow. So, what was the feeling this time around?
Oh, okay. Maybe I skipped something. As I once said, getting pregnant for me, it's a mammoth task. It's really a difficult task. So, finding the pregnancy test positive within such a short period of time, it was really indeed a miracle in itself because I would take years to get pregnant. But after that, just some months, I was already positive. The pregnancy test was already positive.
So this time around, you test positive, you go through the first month. Was there any bleeding?
There was no bleeding.
Second month?
No bleeding.
Third month?
No bleeding.
Fourth?
No
fifth,
bleeding.
Sixth?
No bleeding.
Seventh? Eighth?
Yes, up to the 9th. And the most fun part of it is I carried through my baby up to the end. The day when I went to the hospital, I was indeed coming from work.
Wow. You delivered coming from work.
Yeah. I carried out through to the end.
You know, men of God, this is one such miracle where it draws celebration on a day-to-day basis. You know that you used to carry in the second month. The moment you get a day past the second month, you know that it's a victory. And the moment you get into the third month, it's another victory. Fourth month, it's another victory. Fifth, sixth, until you carry your pregnancy to term. So this is something which is celebratory, which brings celebratory moments throughout. So finally, okay, this is your picture now. So you mean after the first pregnancy and then you had miscarriages all along, you never carried to this, like to show something like this?
I never carried to that because I was just miscarrying at 2 months. All the miscarriages, at 2 months, I would miscarry. At 2 months, I would miscarry.
So this is you at work?
That's me at work, yes.
Okay. This is now the day you delivered.
Yeah, that's the day I delivered.
There's makeup and the face is just look.
And when my doctor came, she was actually laughing and said, "You're actually wearing a necklace in labor."
Okay, so this is now another picture now with you and your, is it a son or daughter?
It's a daughter.
So when did the child come? Which day was this? When did the child come?
Okay, it's on the 28th of June
This year.
this year.
Wow. So the ministration was 19 June last year.
Yes, the ministration was 19 June last year. And I
then
delivered June again, 28.
Wow.
This is what we hear in the Bible, the prophet saying by this time next year.
Exactly. So, Mama, where is the child?
The child is here. Can you bring my baby?
Come on, people of God, let's celebrate this miracle.
Today is what?
Today is the 23rd
Of July.
of July.
So this child is less than a month old. Wow. We call it a neonate in medical terms.
Come on, people of God, look at that, people of God. A testimony through the hands of our parents. Just look at that. Come on, we can celebrate better, people of God.
Man of God, you know, getting this nature of a miracle, it's not easy. The lady has just miscarried. She's bleeding, and she's been bleeding every day. And probably she still has hormones of pregnancy at that time. And the man of God comes and stops the bleeding instantly. And the body now starts to get remodeled, preparing to carry again. And then she carries. And then when she carries, whatever was happening to prevent her from going to the third month, it's automatically cancelled. Whether it was hormonal imbalances, the hormones are kept in check. We don't know. Whatever it was, the power of God is able to sustain the pregnancy and carry it through until it goes to term. You can see there when she's explaining, you can see just the vigor, shungu dzavari kushowa, that she really has to have this thing.
You can actually see how desperate she was at that point. You can imagine as a mother losing a child and miscarrying, and also having that difficulty that after 4 years, you're trying to have a child and you are failing. And all she knew was, this was my moment. I have to say it with my heart, from the deepest cause of my spirit as a spirit. I have to say it to the man of God, because he's the one with my solution. And indeed, this is the solution. This is the answer that our Father.
Indeed. Man of God, you know, it's not just the bleeding. Bleeding with clots, we know it causes anemia. You are losing blood, you are losing life constantly, every minute. And you are anemic. And you know, it's also a problem where it's not easy to share such a problem. A woman coming to you and saying, I'm bleeding clots for the past 1 month. It's not easy to share that story. And you can understand probably the reason why she didn't come to the sick bay. Sometimes she wanted to protect her dignity, her privacy. And the only time that she can say it out loud now is now that she's got her testimony and her miracle. It's just amazing what this God does, man of God.
And even if you look at her, you can see that she's tearing. It's a sign that this is a very emotional thing that was happening to her. And people of God, imagine the pain that goes through your life, knowing that you can't carry, and you have tried everything that is possible for you to carry. But all you just needed, all she just needed, was an encounter with our Father. And that encounter changed everything in her life, from tears of pain to tears of joy. A serious exchange, a beautiful exchange happened in her life. And you know what, Doc, I would want to ask a question so that maybe you would understand. How complex was the situation in this regard, especially someone now having 4 years, not having a child? And is it something that was now easy for her to now have a child?
Not at all, man of God. You know, there are medical definitions for fertility, subfertility, and infertility. So if somebody tries to conceive for a year and you fail to conceive, it's now by medical definition infertility or subfertility, which is what was happening to her. So she had gone for more than a year trying to conceive, and she couldn't conceive. And then after that year or 2 years, maybe she's now getting into the 3rd or 4th year, she then conceives, and then she miscarries. Conceives, miscarries. It's now another problem. You were dealing with subfertility, and somehow the subfertility has been broken. Now she's having miscarriages. You know where the Bible says the vine will cast her fruits or her seeds before the time. This is now what she was now going through. Another challenge coming in addition to what she was having. But we thank God because our Father is in this place to deal with such situations and resolve them in an instant.
So maybe as we are concluding, Doc, I wanted to ask, you're saying that now it becomes another problem, whereby now she's having miscarriages. She's conceiving, and now she's having miscarriages. She's conceiving, she's now having miscarriages. Is it also a sign that now something is wrong with her programming in her system, that it's now able, I'm not sure if I can quote well the scripture that you've given us as a doctor. You said now the vines are now giving out at the wrong time, okay? So is it now the situation now that she was now having, that her body was now giving out at a wrong time?
Well, I can't pinpoint one reason as to that.
Okay.
There are so many
So there are
reasons why
several.
women will have early miscarriages. So many reasons. Maybe the fetus is abnormal. There are so many other reasons. So I can't really pinpoint as to what exactly was happening. But all we know is
There was a problem.
she had no child. She was miscarrying. Now she has a child. And to us, that's a miracle. There are several reasons which I can tell you. I can maybe for an hour telling each and every one of them, but we know that she has received a miracle and everything is now resolved.
And now that you have said something that is also amazing to me as a doctor, you said I could tell you so many reasons for an hour, but all those reasons were cut down just by an encounter by the man of God. Whatever needed to be corrected in her life was just corrected because of the encounter with our Father. Just like you're seeing on the screen, that's all it took. Everything was corrected, and now she has got a baby. People of God, what more can we say about this God? What more can we say about the kind of anointing that we have? We have a Father. We have a Spirit in this place. Come on, people of God, let's celebrate what Jesus has done.